Hello and welcome to TV News and Inside Look. This documentary is designed to take you behind the scenes of this amazing business, to gain insightful information from professionals who have worked in this industry from 1 to 60 years. In total, the journalists you'll meet have over 300 years of experience and are ready to reveal their secrets to you. Now remember, each of them started where you are right now. So listen carefully, take notes. This is TV News and Inside Look. In 1947, TV news had very few rules, and the format was, well, whatever worked. But then a young USC graduate came on the scene at a station called KTLA, Los Angeles.
I got a call asking me if I would like to go to work at KTLA. I was just overwhelmed, and I said, sure. It's $1.25 an hour and time and a half for overtime. And it was such an adventure that I really don't remember too many details. I was so excited about going on. And
in the early days of local broadcasting, glamour hadn't been invented yet.
The studio was an old garage right opposite Paramount Pictures. Paramount Pictures owned the studio, and this was where they had their television operation. And we didn't have offices. What we did is we had curtains, floor-to-ceiling curtains on 4 sides, and that was your office. I don't even remember what I did, but usually it was a newscast. You know, you'd go to the teletype machine and you'd rip off the wire copy and you'd bring it in, you'd sit down and you would read 3 minutes of news. That was our news program. So I got to start doing news very early because of that.
As you can see, we're here in our new news control. Our broadcast moving to 5:30 now. The reason we've moved here is in order that we can bring to you late developments as they take place. Tonight, KTLA inaugurates a new concept in sports coverage. The players themselves, the professionals who play the games, will be here at our sports desk. Tonight,
but in between my newscasts, I was moving props and moving sets and carrying gear over to Paramount Wardrobe and Paramount Studio storage areas where we would bring a lot of our props in. So we carried the props in for the show that night. And to get a good picture, it had to be very, very hot, meaning the light's very close to you. So when you went on, you had this huge garage, lights completely circling the front of the stage, and you did your broadcast that way. All live, all very primitive, and all very exciting, because people at home were just looking at something moving. Can you imagine? This is television. Look at that. Look at his hat.
Working at this point to further protect the actual area.
In the early days, reporters played a lot of different roles. For Stan Chambers, it was being the sidekick on, of all things, a local cooking show.
I was there throughout the half-hour broadcast once a week, and my main job was to say, isn't that good?
Tuesday night, and time for KTLA's home economist, chorus guy in Tricks and Treats.
Hello, everyone. It's good to be with you again tonight. Oh, Stan, what are you doing?
Doris, come here. Look at Joe.
What's he doing?
Looks like he's farming or something. He's got a, look at that, about a 3x4 plot or something.
Well, it
Is
can't
that
be any
amazing?
bigger than that, really. Yeah.
Poor old Joe.
Oh, the rest of you too.
Hi, Joe.
Hi, Joe.
Imagine that's about a 3x4 plot of ground or something, and he has so much.
That's very ambitious.
Hope he keeps busy. What have we got here, Chorus?
Well, you know, Stan, I don't usually do any comparative testing of foods.
I know you don't.
Well, tonight I'd like to have you try, though, 2 different cups of coffee.
Well, that's fair enough. This is something new, though.
This is marked A for your benefit.
A.
Uh-huh.
What do you want? Oh, I know. Oh, I know. Now, let's see. You want me to tell which is the MJB?
Uh-huh, that's right.
Well?
I want to see if you can tell.
That's good.
We used to do big live entertainment programs because we didn't have videotape. We had to have a big show every night to fill up an hour. So for years, I did an ice show, Frosty Frolics.
Comedy on ice. Wanted opportunity for young man. Mediocre appearance will do. No salary.
but free tourist class accommodations for France. Oh boy, this is a real chance. Paris, here I come.
I know you've been waiting.
You play. I was a waiter in one show, and I was an MC in another, and it wasn't scripted really. It was okay. Then we go to you, and you do something, and then you come to me, and then I will do something.
We present subjects from your vast empire, from many of the great nations of the world in this command performance. First, from the land of Scotland, some of their native dances, some of their most
It was
expert dances.
live television
Your Majesty,
that made Stan
may I
Chambers
present?
the broadcast professional he is today.
No matter what went wrong, you still had to talk.
Incidentally, speaking of last minutes, you know we're having a big wedding up at the hotel today. The whole village is visiting.
And it was those challenging moments that were just intoxicating. You thoroughly enjoyed the pressure. You thoroughly enjoyed the whole atmosphere, the dangers, the challenges, and the fact is that you're standing there and maybe the words didn't come out, but there's no excuse. You were on the air. The big thing to learn is you don't let your face tell what you're feeling if you're wrong, because if you get in too deep, it's hard to get out. So you at least make believe whatever you're doing or talking about is what you really wanted to do.
A story about a young girl trapped in a well. The story captivated Los Angeles and changed the face of news broadcasting forever.
And during the day, people would stop in front of the record store where there was a television set in the window, the neighborhood bar, the neighbor down the street. People would be sleeping on the floor in front of the television set at a neighbor's. It just electrified the whole city. And it went on, and 27 hours later, we went off the air. And people, to this day, I will talk to people who remember that so vividly. And what it was is for the first time, people saw the power of television, the power of taking you and bringing you there and having you be a part of this. And the fact that here was this beautiful little girl who was playing in the open field in tall grass and had fallen into a well, I don't know how far down, but 30, 40, 50 feet, and they never could get her, so she died. And when that hit, the whole city was just overwhelmed by this deep personal loss. So television on the first lengthy news broadcast brought all of the elements of what television was going to offer in the future on that one day. And what it did, it made people aware that television wasn't just a plaything. It wasn't a new novelty. It wasn't an adornment in your house. And people began buying television sets, and that was the turning point. Overnight, I became a television celebrity. So here was one event, changed my personal life, changed my professional life, changed my ability to understand the power of television, all in one day.
The success of TV news inspired innovation.
You had the teletypes. I think we might have had two, one sports, one, and that was your source of news. So you could take the script and read the script as it came over the wire copy. We did that for a long time. And then we happened to get some pretty good newsmen who would add to it with their own creative process and rewrite the script and everything. And then we had realized that there is a 16 millimeter video film, a camera that's this big. You can take any place and you can shoot 16 millimeters for 3 minutes and you have a news story.
We want to talk to cameraman Ed Clark, who's just returned from the area. Ed, you just got here moments ago. You were there all night long. Could you tell us how it was tonight compared to last night?
Well, Stan, in my 15 years in the news business, this is undoubtedly the worst thing I think I've ever seen involving violence. This is the worst I've ever seen.
So we would have our staff photographer who had a silent 16mm film, and he would shoot a little bit at the city hall, the accident on the freeway, and then bring it back to us. And then if it was a big story, it had more attention. Then San Francisco, we worked with them. They said, I heard you had a bad traffic accident on there. Could you send it to us? Sure. So we would make a dub of that black and white negative film, go out to the airport, find the stewardess who was on the next flight to San Francisco, give her the video, and she would go up to San Francisco and land, and the San Francisco station would be there and take it off the plane, get back to the studio and go on the air.
Stan Chambers and other TV news pioneers quickly honed their instincts.
We all had that same feeling. We knew what to have to do when a major story hit. Who cares about authorization? You know, do it, and then worry about it later.
The quest for immediacy led KTLA, and Stan Chambers was part of it, in developing one of the first TV news helicopters.
This is the Telecopter Station, KTLA Channel 5, Los Angeles.
But there is a beautiful live shot right now over the Memorial Coliseum. There are the instructions for the helicopter to proceed to land, and it will now circle again and come in this large cement area. A beautiful shot from that picture, the first live telecast from a helicopter, a truly history-making event.
And then we had the big telecast to the whole city. You're now going live in the air with the new KTLA helicopter. And we were over the Coliseum, and we saw the torch at the Coliseum, and we had the city, and then we landed, and really made a big deal out of it. And really never realizing what an important dimension we had added to television news. Because when something happened, we were there.
Has made its rendezvous here at the Coliseum.
We are going to have a very novel item on the helicopter very soon. It's a tremendous flashing light on the underside of the ship that will be able to be seen for 30 miles in broad daylight. So we're going to have to eliminate 8 pounds, which we already have figured out. This will allow the public, when they see a flashing light in the sky, to go in there and turn their set on because they know something is going to be happening.
So this means when you see that flashing light on this helicopter, get to Channel 5 right away for the big story. Our airborne special helicopter number 1. And ladies and gentlemen, your first historic telecast, the first live telecast from a helicopter, has been completed.
This copter helped define the role of television news as a public service.
He is going over, and here you're at the top of the dam, and all of a sudden this big hole opens up in the dam, and the water came pouring out, just tremendous. And it washed out all of these homes in the canyon below the dam. Now, if we had not been there, and if we had not alerted the whole city to the danger, a lot of people would have been killed. It was a whole new dimension for television, because no longer do you wait to originally get the film back and developed and then put a live camera there and then having to get the signal out. Here you're there instantly when that helicopter arrived. And it's been that way for all these years.
Another KTLA achievement was to relay a video signal from faraway Nevada in order to broadcast the testing of the atom bomb.
Possibly closed without paying tribute to the achievement here today, which was made possible by scaling some of these mountains and barren peaks which you see here today. 18, 19, 20, 21, and there it is, that brilliant flash, that white light that precedes the explosion of the atomic bomb.
They went up to Mount Wilson here in Southern California. They looked toward the western part of the desert where the actual atom bomb was being tested. And we were on the air live with Gil Martin. And all of a sudden, on that camera, you saw two flashes of light. And they were able to say, there you have just seen the first atom bomb explode in the continental United States. And it was just overwhelming. People All they saw was 2 flashes of light, but it was the first time an atom bomb had gone off in the continental United States.
That led to even more exciting innovation for remote broadcasting, such as from San Diego, where a Navy ship was coming home from deployment.
He sent another crew down and put them out on the ship. And here you had the guy climbing the ship up with a huge dish. They started there at that area, so we had the pictures of the ship coming in, and then we had the pictures of the fellas coming off the ship, and the mothers and the babies and the families and the tears and the emotion and the band. It was absolutely spectacular. And nobody could believe how this could happen. And at one point during the telecast, it was so emotional, Klaus said, "Don't talk anymore to us, Dick Garton and I. Don't talk, just listen." So for about 20 minutes, it was nothing but the band, the music.
It didn't take long for competitors to catch on.
And they would cover breaking stories just like we did. The other stations eventually, but not in the early years, so we were always trying to beat each other. And when we moved up here, their front gate entered onto Van Ness right in front of our front gate, so we could always tell when they were leaving with their mobile equipment. KTTV just left with them. Quick, what is it? So it was really fun. But,
it was that heavy competition that forced Stan and other news professionals to meet the daily challenges of TV news.
Yeah, AJ-10, I'm ready to set up your signal to Mount Wilson for Stan's live shot.
Right you are, Jim. Thank you. So that tremendous exhilaration of trying to get together, get all of your gear, get out there, find out who's in charge, who's talking, look at the fire, right? And then once you get there and you see how big it is, well, your story's pretty well over then. Here is a big building on fire. Now it's your other resource of how did it happen, who's in there, anyone injured, what shall we do?
Fine, Sarge. Stan Chambers, just fine. Nice to see you. Well, feeling good. Oh dear, was this just lost control, or was it?
No, it appears as though he was coming around this corner. He was under the influence and drifted, and it just smacked the rear of the truck.
Well, what I would do is the old who, what, why, where, when. That helped a lot, because who was here, who is he, and what happened to him, and why did it happen, and where was he, and when did it happen? In other words, those little phrases give you a capsule of what you have to know.
Hi. Good. Did you see what happened at all?
We heard what happened.
We heard. Just basically, what did you hear?
The fellow in the blue car was coming through the intersection.
You don't give the stats. You give the story.
What can you tell us at this point?
If you look at a news story that seems complex, many a time I'll say to myself, well, not just what is the story, why it's just important. And you kind of lead yourself into what you're going to say.
The shooting took place just across the street from Sepulveda Junior High School. The victim was taken to Holy Cross Hospital for further treatment. From Sepulveda, Stan Chambers, Channel 5 News.
We try to get the most visual thing we can in covering the story.
I set up a sobriety checkpoint in the city of Paris. Right now, let's go to Stan Chambers at that location. Stan?
Al, we're right on Rosecrans, right near Paramount High School. All the cars that are going eastbound on Rosecrans have been funneled down to a single lane. And as they come by here, the deputies either wave them through or stop them. The checkpoint, they take an observation.
When you're live,
might be drinking,
it's a different thing, because you don't have the ability to put all the niceties in, because you don't have the ability, as you would back at the station, to take the same story and edit it, putting the scenes that are the most visual together. So that's the big difference there. And then you write a script. You don't have a script on the first thing. Here's what happened. I was standing here, the governor was over here, these people came into a room here. So I think you hit it when you said storytelling. News is really the telling of the story.
Track for the intersection shooting. 5, 4, 3. Late this afternoon, a gunman in a car fired several shots into this blue Monte Carlo.
Now, when you look back on something, why didn't I do it differently? There's a lot of that, a lot of second guessing. I could have done better. I could have. So you do a lot of second guessing on yourself. You don't talk much about that to other people. And to follow along with your wife, she's a wonderful sounding board. You're able to talk to her and say, you'll never guess what happened. I had to do this, but you know. So when you go home with this feeling of victory, she's the audience you share it with, and she's the one that lets you get that feeling of accomplishment, of satisfaction, of challenge, of I wonder what's going to happen tomorrow.
It is an accomplishment to survive the very fast-paced world of TV news, and Stan Chambers has met that goal now for over 60 years.
The first thing is that you really enjoy doing it. That's essential. Don't do it as a chore. When you're doing your stories, remember you're doing this because you want to do it. When you have pressure, remember that you chose this field, and that's part of the problem.
What's your name?
Beth Barton.
And Beth, do you sell roses?
Yeah.
How's business?
Very good.
Where do you get the roses?
From my supplier.
Now tell us about them now. What kind are they? Can we see them? Let's pick them up and let's take a look.
Well, I think they're about 22 inches. They have red and pink.
And how is the rose business?
Oh, it's blooming.
It really wouldn't mind. Where else?
It's hard to walk away because this really is where the world turns.
What's your name? Arthur. Huh? Arthur. Can I shake your hand? Oh, there. Thank you, Arthur.
And where the action takes place, where the changes can be instant, and the response to them, because we all have that responsibility of going or doing or being there. And those are the challenges.
Resolve, I just heard one of those incomplete transmissions, but at Panorama City, a shooting and perhaps near a school. I think I don't know if anyone was injured or what.
It is the unexpected. It's what just happened. It's that you are in a position to do something about it, and you get called. So no matter what happens, you think, that's for me. Now you may not get the story, but it's that thing that you are ready, like the fireman at the firehouse, he's ready to go. So I would say that someone that's interested in the field, that he knows the difficulties. His life will never be his. The deadlines will always be over his head. He didn't get called on a story he thought he should have been on. He's not being used as much as he thinks he should be. He hasn't had a chance to anchor. All of these things that could happen haven't happened. And your mentality and your approach and your thinking has to accommodate that, because these are little defeats and little victories. It isn't on the massive scale. You're not on the coverage at 10 o'clock on one of the big networks worldwide. You're covering this station. And maybe you didn't get sent in that story. Maybe you didn't get sent, and you're sitting here at the station wondering, how come he got to go? Well, these are things you have to adjust to, and you don't want to let them upset you, and you don't want to be so competitive that when someone else gets the call, you are infuriated, or you're upset, or you're crushed. It's a business of disappointment, but it's a business where there's a lot of excitement, satisfaction, victories.